Peace, bro.
Good morning.
Session's already recording, but we're still waiting for folks to come in. Maybe Pat isn't going to join us today, or he might have just set up an auto record. All right, how you feeling? You all good? Ryan's having some technical difficulties logging on, so I was helping him troubleshoot for a second there. You can't get on. You hold it down. Leave that alone. Let's just crack the window. Oh, you made it. All right. Waiting for Ryan's audio to connect. But looks like we're having a slow morning. You all set?
Hey,
Hey, did you have to enter the code or you were able to get by?
no, I don't know. I just like restarted some things and didn't ask me for a code this time.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, well, I was saying, it seems like a slow morning. think people might trickle in. We typically get 8 to 10 people.
Yeah, happy tax day.
Happy tax day. Maybe that's everyone's doing their taxes.
You think everyone's paying their fair share this year?
Hopefully not. No, I'm kidding. I think according to the system, fair might be in need of interrogation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys paying your fair share?
I'm in I mean, this workshop's really good for me because I usually file an extension. Just having like a couple businesses and then doing like people's books and stuff. It's like the what's the saying, like the cobbler's children have no shoes or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what they say. A little bit antiquated. Okay. I actually didn't know you were involved in other businesses. I remember you had ventures a long time ago, or a venture with your dad.
Yep.
How many businesses are you involved in right now?
It's just that one, but yeah.
Gotcha. So that one still exists. That's cool.
Yeah.
That was like an agricultural enterprise, or what was that? House building?
Yeah, well, so he's got that. That's like I'm not like legally involved in that, but some of the like on the the ag land there's like some like cottages and stuff that
Gotcha.
He's been like Airbnb-ing or trying to do Verbo.
Oh, Verbo, wow. Don't hate Verbo.
Yeah.
From a standpoint.
And that's been interesting. There's actually like there's somebody staying at one of the cottages right now that's part of this like Netflix documentary. I don't know all the details, but they're been pen pals with somebody at like the Coxsackie prison, I think, and they're gonna like marry them. So they're like having this wedding with
that's what
somebody who's been in jail for a while. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I'll have to check it out when it comes out, but they had to sign like release forms and whatnot because they're filming on the property and whatnot.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds really interesting. I think we can get started, give people the room they need to show up if they're going to, and we'll focus on pushing out this recording. And maybe, I feel like that is going to be really needed, just really using the content in like a YouTube context to keep pushing and pushing. So, well, excellent. Hey, Krista. Excellent.
Yo, I'm here. What's up? Give me a second.
No problem. Keep it learning about Texas.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I'm a little bit late.
No, I think it's that type of morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So.
Well, I'm just gonna be doing my thing. I'm here to learn, listen, etc.
Welcome. Do your thing. All right. Sounds good. Let's keep rocking. Let's dive into today's session. Welcome, everybody. I think folks are going to be trickling in, perhaps. It just seems like that type of morning. So we've been debriefing a little bit, but we're going to get started. So welcome to the Co-op Connection. Today is tax day, and we're here to talk about whether it's too late to file. And our belief is that it's not. So we've invited Ryan Rose of Capital Bookkeeping Cooperative and our Co-op Navigator Fellow, Kasim Swin, to share a little bit more about this. And so I'm just going to invite you guys to get started. Whenever you're ready, tell us a little bit more about taxes, why we should pay them, and why it's not too late to pay them.
I definitely can't get into why you should pay them, but I can talk about how it's not too late. Yeah, so I know Swain is on the call here. I just saw the Canva, which maybe we'll use, but I'll just start like I can kick us off and start talking. So I'm Ryan. For those who don't know, I'm with Capital Bookkeeping Cooperative. And yeah, we're just going to talk about like filing extensions for those that are interested. We did talk in previous meetings about like having additional info sessions or workshops kind of like around taxes, because it seems like everyone has an endless supply of questions about tax and the different kinds of tax and everything like that. I'll start off by saying like nobody at our company are CPAs, but we do a lot of work with a lot of businesses on getting them ready for taxes and helping them meet the tax deadline. But if there's certain circumstances that arise in life and especially in business that prevent you from meeting those deadlines, luckily you can file extensions. So yeah, today, as Johan said, is the federal tax return deadline for most people. Taxpayers that need more time can request an extension to avoid failure or any kind of penalties. They'll need to still pay their taxes or estimated taxes by today. So for those filing extensions, usually you get until like another 6 months from whenever the due date is. So with filing an extension, again, like you still need to pay any taxes that you think you might owe by the deadline, which for most people is today. For some folks that file or elect to be taxed as S corps, like generally was due a month ago. And so some steps that you can take, and again, we'll have like this in a Google Doc that we can share.
I was gonna say you could definitely put the slides up. All the information.
Okay.
Filing the extensions is up. That's done.
Okay, cool.
Do you want to
do that? I've never actually used Canva before, and I don't want to like mess up any of the stuff that you've created here.
Okay, let me just test it on my end and see if I can hop on a computer for here.
Preset and record. Yeah, because there's a button that says like present and record, and then it takes me to like recording studio.
Yeah, no. So yeah, when we would click that for present and record, we're actually just gonna hit the back button on that and slide down to just present. And you should see a screen that says present full screen at your own pace. That is an interesting feature, though.
Yeah. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm trying to log on the computer.
Okay. Yeah, because I hit back and it's taking me to like the main Canvas screen, and it's prompting me to like enter who's on my team and stuff. Well, while Swing gets the Canva stuff going, I'll just keep talking. So just some like basic steps for most people. Yeah, file your tax return or request an extension of time to file by the deadline. So that's today. Pay as much as possible as you can by today. Review options the IRS offers to help taxpayers. So there's like payment plans. You can apply for a payment plan on the IRS.gov website or in writing using Form 9465 installment agreement request. You can offer in compromise, and offer in compromise lets taxpayers settle their tax debt for less than the full amount they owe. It may be an option if they can't pay their full tax liability, or doing so creates a financial hardship. And they have a tool that you can use to see if you're eligible. Offer in compromise pre-qualifier tool. And then there's also penalty relief. Taxpayers may qualify for penalty relief if they tried to comply with tax laws, but were unable due to circumstances beyond their control. So some of the stuff is like disaster victims, taxpayers living overseas, military service members, eligible support personnel in combat zones, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, you can also sign up for newsletters from the IRS website to get like tax tips and information like this just sent to your email, and helpful reminders. But yeah, that's just like some general overview of like what's going on today. For individuals, so if you're just an individual or a sole proprietor, which I don't know like what the makeup of the group is here today, that might be interested in these types of extensions, but you would get Form 4868. With a lot of these forms now, if you have internet access, you can just essentially go onto Google or whatever search engine you prefer and type in like, Form 4868. A link to PDF should pop up, and you should always select the one from like the IRS.gov website. And again, like the document that Swain and I put together will have like links to some of these PDFs. So those are useful if you want to just like review the instructions and just kind of like look over the form to understand what kind of information you're going to need to provide. So, to fill out those forms, you'll need to like, provide your name, address, social security number, and any other like required information that shows up on there. You'll also need to estimate your total tax liability for the year, as well as any payments you've made. So if you've made estimated tax payments or you've made any payments throughout the year, you'll need to add those in as well. And that's going to help just calculate like, what you owe, what you've paid, what you should be paying by today to kind of like make up the difference. If you haven't paid anything, then it's just going to be whatever the estimated tax payment is. And so again, like if you don't pay the taxes by today or whatever your original deadline is, again, for most people, it's usually like around April 15th. You might have some penalties and interest. So, for some folks, it's like too complicated to even come up with an estimated tax payment. It's still better to just like make some type of payment, whatever you can do, if you think you're going to end up owing. So filing the extension. Once you've completed the form, you can file it electronically using IRS e-file or by mailing it to the appropriate IRS address for your state that you're filing in. They have different addresses. I think if we're in New York, I believe the address is maybe in Binghamton, but you might want to double check that. They'll have a list of where you should mail it depending on where you are. And then of course, always keep a copy for your records. Electronic, I like to do electronic and paper, just to have like, redundancy. And so if your extension is approved, you'll receive an automatic 6 months extension, which moves your filing deadline to around October 15th. So I guess in this case, it would be October 18th for this year. And it's, like we put in the document here, it's important to note that a tax extension only extends the time to file your tax return, not time to pay any taxes owed. I know we've said that a lot, but just want to make that like crystal clear.
What's a typical fee or penalty that could occur if somebody doesn't pay their taxes on time?
I don't know offhand. You know, I know it's like some percentage rate. It'll say specifically on the should say on the IRS website, but I didn't like gather that information today. You know, it's in the past I've seen it not be too burdensome if, you know, depending on how far out you push it. Obviously, like the farther out you push it, the more penalties and interest. But yeah, you might want to just like, I don't know, look into that on your own, or, you know, we can follow back up with that question. Because I definitely don't want to give out the wrong information. So yeah, individual sole proprietors form 4868 is what you're going to want. And then we also added some other forms and to just like make people aware of form 7004 application for automatic extension of time to file certain business income tax information, other returns. So that's the form used to you know, request an extension for various business tax returns, partnerships, corporations, trusts, and estates. So again, like I know some folks on here may have like, you know, partnerships or things like that. So you might want to end up like, you know, filling out a form for your partnership and then like one for yourself individually as well. Like if your business is going to be filing extension, then you're most likely going to be wanting to file an extension because it, you know, your business is probably not going to be issuing the appropriate tax documents, like, you know, a K-1 or, you know, whatever else you might need to complete your individual return. And then another form is the form 1138, extension of time for payment of taxes by a corporation expecting a net operating loss carryback. I don't think anybody in our group is going to be worried about that, except for maybe Capital Bookkeeping, because we are incorporated. But you know, we currently don't have any like net operating loss carrybacks to worry about. But it's another form related to extending time for filing. And then finally, form 5558, application for extension of time to file certain employee plan returns. So this form is used by businesses with employee benefit plans, such as retirement plans or certain types of deferred compensation plans. Again, I don't think that's going to apply to anybody in this group, but just wanted to put it in the document, again, that we'll be sharing after this. And then I know Swain wanted to take a little time to like look ahead as I kind of like look back and kind of go over these things. And sort of we have like a list of you know, tax filing dates, you know, for this year to just be aware of in the documents. I don't know, Swain, if you want to jump in or go over any of that stuff.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just loading. I don't know, maybe I should just pull up the document.
Do you guys also cover how to pay as little taxes as possible?
I'm curious too.
Yeah, some real questions here.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's like more of an in-person discussion than recording. But yeah, maybe if you were to buy a private jet, I think you can write that off. So something to consider for your next trip to the islands. Some PJs.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Did you have a technical issue, Swin, or are you just done sharing?
No, I'm moving over to a different tab.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull up the doc. So I think it'd be better that way.
Cool. And great.
Yeah, so I even myself, I didn't know that there were this many different tax dates. For most people, and I just learned that there's such thing as a metropolitan commuter tax, transportation mobility tax. But on the 18th, it's a couple of different things that's due: personal income tax for fourth quarter of 2021, partnership and LLC estimated taxes, S corporation taxes, and personal income estimated tax corrections for shareholder corporations. On the 20th of January and the 31st, sales tax for monthly filers, employer quarterly, and combined withholding, wage reporting, and unemployment insurance, which how many people even know that in 1 month, that's a couple different things that could be due based on how your formation or what your setup is. I do have a question though. What's a monthly filer?
So this to me, it looks like this is like all focused mostly on New York State. And so with New York State sales taxes, some filers are annual, some are quarterly, and I believe some are monthly as well. We haven't worked with any monthly filers that I'm aware of. It's only been like annually or quarterly, but with the sales taxes, it's not directly related to income, but just like the sale of taxable like tangible goods in the state of New York. So yeah, depending on like how the state determines like how often you should be paying, like you would receive some sort of notification from New York State to let you know like what type of sales tax filer you are, if you have like a certificate of authority and you're like selling taxable goods or services.
Okay. And New York State corporation tax return due for calendar year filers. That's something that's getting filed once a year.
Yep. Yeah. So S corps. Is this March?
Yeah, this is March 15th.
Yeah. So yeah, like typically, like if you're elected to be taxed as an S corporation, I mean, you could be set up as an LLC and elect to be taxed as an S corp, for example. You're expected to file by March 15th, in and around there, for the prior year for income taxes. But again, I don't think anybody here is like set up that way. But again, it's like good to know if you have other businesses. Like I know some people have like side gigs, and there can be certain like benefits to filing as an S corp. But again, yeah, your tax deadline is pushed up by 1 month.
Does anybody on the line have any particular tax questions related to their, setup or formation? Something that might be relevant. No, I guess we all got it together this year. That's what I like to hear.
I think people are searching their experiences for maybe the right question, which there is none, right? I think what you just pointed out is probably new and helpful information for a lot of people, right? That it's not just income tax, right? You're thinking about sales tax, and it's not just a yearly filing. Some people are filing quarterly, some people are filing monthly. The situation. So I think that's pretty interesting to think about different type of taxes and the different filing conditions. Even that's simple. a lot of us have probably a range of businesses from sole proprietor to LLC to unincorporated. So I think, that all fits. And I think, questions will come as the context gets clearer. Good stuff.
I think, Johan, that you mentioned about like people maybe not having the questions was something that Swain and I discussed yesterday when we were preparing for this for today. Was potentially like leveraging this group or like figuring out a way to sort of, structure a meeting where we're sort of like gathering everyone's questions and kind of translating them into a way that makes sense for like a CPA or an attorney to maybe like answer in an efficient way, for the future. Like, if instead of everybody going out individually and asking like certain like groups of professional service providers a bunch of like questions, like having this group, like if there's overlap in certain types of things that we would like to know, like putting together those questions and just having them like answered in one shot by a professional.
Gotcha. Yeah, I definitely believe in like a tax lab. We've seen like a legal clinic, you know what I mean? And we don't see the tax labs as often. I've long thought that it, even though everyone's situation is so unique, it'd be difficult. I still think it could be helpful. And as you mentioned, people usually get their taxes done through a service provider. And tax and legal are types of services where the knowledge gap might be so vast that you can't determine if they've done a good job. You have no clue, right? If your lawyer did a good job with that contract, or if your tax guy did a good job with your filing, because that's not your expertise, right? Until you've done it a few times for yourself. So it's one of those situations where it is difficult to ask a question because you don't even know what a good job looks like, So maybe I'll ask that question. How does someone know if if the service provider has done a good job? How do they know? What can they look out for as they're thinking of filing their tax or finding a provider?
Mm. Yeah, well, I think that's kind of our presentation on extensions. Glad to hear nobody has questions. It's wonderful. Everybody's getting the professional service they deserve. The document that we put together, we'll send out after this. It's got some other stuff. Like there's a section with like webinar resource links just on like YouTube videos from, Wagner CPAs, the U.S. Federation for Worker Cooperatives, one from the Cooperative Professionals Guild, all on just like taxes. And, it's a lot of fun. I'm sure everybody's going to go watch that as soon as we get off the line here. There's also like some PDFs with extension forms, but it sounds like nobody needs that, which is great. And yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ryan.
Gotcha. Appreciate you. All right. Any final thoughts or follow up on that before we move into maybe some updates on the fellowship or any upcoming events? Has everyone already filed their taxes?
No.
So, I'm not sure we didn't need that, Ryan, but because I certainly haven't, and I have multiple streams that I'm gonna have to figure out later. I have no clue what's gonna happen. What are you doing, Pat?
There's National File Your Extension Day for me now.
Yeah. Yeah, same. Extensions already in the mail.
Oh, good. I gotta call my accountant today. Desiree, you're about to come off mute. Did you have something to share?
Oh no, I'm bad. I always wait till the last day because it's my birthday. So I just feel like, I just gotta wait till the last minute. But my great aunt does taxes, so she's been teaching me each year. So I have my tax lesson today coming up in a few hours. So we'll see. This is gonna be my first time doing the business file.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm lucky to have her.
Happy birthday. Bam, 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 bam.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I didn't even know, Desiree. Appreciate you joining us on your birthday.
Oh yeah. Had to tap in.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I don't know if I would dare do my business taxes, even though they're not complicated. But what do you guys see people do that, Ryan, and then come to you guys, even though obviously you guys don't file taxes?
We work with a couple CPAs, and yeah, sometimes people will switch CPAs. I know with like certain businesses, they like to switch every so often, just to get like a different take on things. People can get comfortable. And yeah, it's like you usually find something, or I don't know if it's just finding something or just humans inherently like want to pick apart or point out like somebody else's different approach to something, kind of say I wouldn't have done it that way. But yeah, I think everybody we work with is pretty good. Andrea worked with Wegner, some of the other like more local firms, and they all seem to do a decent job. I think it's always good to, get the stuff in as soon as possible so that they have more lead time to kind of take care of things and aren't like rushing and overlooking anything that, might be beneficial for you, whether it's like a deduction or a tax credit of some kind.
Gotcha. And
but again, like filing the extension kind of like will do that too. So, and if your business is like already paying like quarterly estimated tax payments, which, again, if you're like, staying on top of your books and things like that, it should be like relatively easy to calculate an estimate of what you think you're going to need to pay. Like, you run your P&L and look at like whatever the net income is for the quarter, and then, kind of like use a multiplier of whatever, your tax rate was for last year. So, say it was like, 20% or whatever, more or less, whatever the effective tax rate was, just like apply that to your net income and kind of squirrel that away on a quarterly basis.
Gotcha. Maybe have another 2 minutes. Maybe I'm curious about how you guys as a co-op are processing your taxes. Are you doing it that way? Are you paying quarterly? I know you filed the extension, obviously you mentioned that, but how do you guys approach your taxes? Because you guys are a cooperative corp subtractor team.
Yep. So we, it's different every year based on like the situation, but yeah, like theoretically we do quarterly estimated tax payments. We just go onto like the IRS like e-file website, log in. So like, they got like 2 drop downs, select what we're giving them money for under our EIN. And then we get a, author, like a form that says like, we paid this on this day for this quarter. And we just save that document, that PDF on a folder for, to give to our accountant at the end of the year. And on the books, we record it as an asset, a prepaid expense. And in years past, we, depending on the situation, again, like whether or not the CPA is doing like a quote unquote good job, they might miss an estimated tax payment that we paid, and then they like file, and they say, you owe money because they maybe missed one of the estimated tax payments, and then like you make that tax payment, and then there's like eventually a correction, and maybe like the following year you don't owe any taxes because the prior like year and a half you've overpaid. And then if you're like kind of like operating at like break even or a loss for a quarter, you're not going to pay an estimated tax on that because there's not going to be any tax on that quarter because there's no net income to tax. So it varies, but yeah, we're a corporation. We do the estimated quarterly tax payments, and then we file an 1120C.
Gotcha. Last question in this minute. If anyone has it, drop it in the chat. How did you find your accountant? How did you decide who will be your service provider as a co-op?
For us, I had worked with Wegner prior to starting Capital Bookkeeping through the National Cooperative Grocers. Used to be called Association, but just NCG. Wegner was like, the preferred CPA firm for cooperatives because they have like a whole like kind of department focused on cooperatives. They're headquartered in Madison, Wisconsin, and there's like a lot of like large agricultural cooperative businesses in the Midwest. So they also have an office in New York, but I'd gone to like some national conferences where they had given presentations on like patronage dividends and like certain like tax savings opportunities that cooperatives have. And so when we formed Capital Bookkeeping, I advocated with the other founder that we go with Wagner as our CPA to file our returns, since they would have like a good understanding of cooperative businesses. Whereas at the time, I mean, maybe it's changed, but locally there weren't like a lot of CPAs that really understood what a cooperative business was.
Gotcha. And so, I mean, you guys are a go-to firm for, more on the bookkeeping side or financial management side. But what do you think people's options are right now? Even I said that was the last question, as it pertains to finding an accountant as a co-op or collective.
So on our website, we have a resources page, and on that resources page, there are links to a number of other organizations, not just like CPAs, but legal organizations that we've worked with in the cooperative space, as well as other, if we can't help you, or, it doesn't work out if we're trying to work together from a bookkeeping or financial management aspect, there's other cooperative bookkeeping companies out there as well. So, and they might have other like CPA connections. So I would say use that directory, use the US Federation for Worker Co-ops directory. A lot of like folks in this group aren't like incorporated as a cooperative. So I don't know if it matters quite as much. Like if you sort of operate cooperatively, but you're like set up as an LLC or a partnership of some kind, then you should more or less like not have a problem finding a CPA that's like, comfortable and used to working on that type of a return, where they're like producing a K1 for the partners and that's that. It's just like a, more standard tax situation. Whereas like, maybe operationally you're making decisions differently, but from a tax perspective, it's like the same as like, a law firm or something else.
Mm-hmm. So you think the difference there is just a patronage consideration?
Yeah, definitely. For us, it's the patronage consideration, the tax implications with being like a cooperative, like understanding some of the rulings around patronage from like a tax perspective. That's all important, and also like just giving us guidance on like how we allocate patronage and what we can and cannot do in terms of coming up with that calculation. Like I don't know any firms around here that would be able to like really answer that question offhand without having to do some additional research that they would probably charge us for.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate that.
But that's just me. I'm curious. Like I would love to know if there's more others out there. But yeah, the two on our website, like it's Wagner, and then there's Andrea Roldan, who we've been working with relatively closely. Give her a shout out.
Excellent. All right, fantastic. Appreciate that. Think there's so much more to know about this, right? We kind of just scratched the surface of that patronage consideration, which is, you know, a major tax implication for co-ops. And I think we can have a follow-up conversation on that, and maybe even bring in one of those folks we can build a relationship with. So I think that's it for today. If there's any questions, drop it in the chat. Ryan and Swain they're going to send out a resource guide that has some of those links that you mentioned before. Want to give Swain the opportunity to share from the Fellows Corner anything coming up, anything to be that we should be aware of. Anything happening, Swain, from the fellow perspective?
Yeah, we actually have a co-op kickback that's coming up in May, and I'm just trying to pull up the correct date. Sorry. Pat, you on here still?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I did want to confirm with you that we good for May.
What day?
May 21st, sorry.
21st.
All right.
Love it. But
I had to dig into the events booking calendar rather. But yeah, we're good.
Yeah, I saw a note from the April 3rd meeting, so I was like, maybe that's a green light, but I just did want to get the thumbs up. So our next kickback is going to be May 21st. The last kickback we had was March 23rd at Pure Juice Cafe. We had about 5 or 6 people come out, including the owners, and you know, they talked about a variety of topics. We had one group that was interested in figuring out how they could sell the actual business that we were in at hosting the kickback. Another group that was interested in trying to figure out how they could turn their business model into a co-op, or do subsidiary spin-offs of their company as co-ops in partnership with co-ops. And then, you know, a guy that does business analysis for the city of Albany. He was just generally curious. But, you know, it was a nice little turnout. Smoothies was great. He's trying to sell, the Owusu was actually trying to sell the business now. But yeah, it was a great turnout for me, engaging. And I look forward to seeing some more of our Co-op Connection membership and our project team at the next one on May 21st.
Excellent. Appreciate that. Any anything to share on the ERC? E-commerce retail cooperative?
I'm looking at places that I would be able to do a indoor pop-up for like spring, summer. Nothing solid yet, but definitely looking for a place that, you know, we could do a pop-up and people could come and kind of start to engage one another, you know, ask some questions and then start to have some familiarity as to what's going on. But nothing solid on location yet. But if anybody has a spot in mind, Albany or Troy, let me know.
ERC? I feel like the location's a little early. We need those members.
No, I'm talking about like a pop-up.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Appreciate you. Any other fellow updates?
I've been having a great time with CBC. that's pretty much it. We just did a good fellowship training this past week with Anna Martina about stakeholders and effective meetings and democratic decision making. That's actually one of my favorite trainings so far. And I think the only other suggestion I would have had on that was, like, I would have liked to see maybe, and this may be something we could do in the future, is like the fellows kind of practice what that looks like maybe at one of the retreats.
Gotcha. Or the peer support call.
I mean, I like to in real life.
Gotcha. I see. You did mean okay. All right, excellent. I appreciate you. And for everyone else's reference, we do have another fellow on the call, Desiree Lester. She's a fellow, and she's partnered with Four Directions CDFI in Maine. So we got two fellows on the call. I'm going to drop a link to a session we hosted last month as well called Meet the Fellows. If anyone's curious or haven't seen that, it's a good little session. There are 5 fellows, and we're just facilitating a conversation for folks who'd like to get to know them. So I dropped the link in the chat. Check it out. And we have a session tomorrow that does feature fellowship sites, right? So the Co-op Connection will have some representation there and some other partners. So tune into that. And we'll try to get this recording available for everybody. And we know we've got to pump them out just to try to give people access to this helpful information. All right. Any final thoughts, questions? What's happening? Looks like you got some stuff happening there, Brian.
Yeah, I always do.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate everybody's time. Welcome, fellow from Maine, Desiree. Yeah. After this, I've got a brief meeting with this person I met at the Vermont Employee Ownership Conference last year, Cooperative Financial, just like a brief introductory meeting to find out about retirement plans for like cooperative businesses. Because I know that's like something on CBC's like annual plan to, figure out more benefits for the workers. And we have our board meeting on Friday. We usually do hybrid, but we haven't picked the location yet. Initially, I was thinking like Umana, but it might be pretty busy for a Friday night there. So we'll see how that goes. And yeah, we'll just keep everybody posted of our happenings.
Please do.
Worst comes to worst, you can camp out in Plum, Ryan.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I got anything else. I hope you guys like this. Hopefully we do some more of these like little info session things. And I shared the link to the document in the chat here. So if anybody wants to take a look at that, it's nothing too fancy, but it's got some info.
Excellent. And definitely keep us up to date on that conversation about retirement plans for co-ops. That's interesting. And the larger conversation about succession right now is very interesting to me. Pat dropped stuff in the
Love
chat.
that show.
Okay. Sure.
Word. April 19th, tomorrow, we're having a branding workshop led by Jamel. That'll be, I believe it's at Kickback. So I think it's like later in the evening too. So drop the link to the Eventbrite for that there. It's a small group, so it'll be like pretty intimate one-on-one. You might get some like good, personal touch to the session. So there's that. And then on May 26th, we're having a Afrofuturism / space themed party across both of our spaces. One will be the Plum location, is going to be like up tempo, kind of like space, means kind of like Star Wars cantina, like bar situation. And then the Kickback Studio is going to be like space jungle themed kind of like situation. That's kind of like down tempo, deep house, vibey, that kind of shit. So tickets will be available soon. Y'all come have fun.
Space Jungle. Wow.
Thank you.
You a big Avatar fan?
I mean, thematically, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, well, aesthetically, yes. Aesthetically, yes.
That's awesome.
Historically, right? Not so much.
Yeah.
That's the colonizers.
Right.
And even Sully to a certain extent, but I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah. We need to go fishing sometime.
Yeah, we need to go to shit soon.
Look, that sounds like one of the kickbacks.
Yeah. You guys really, yeah.
Trip. I'm down with that. Fishing trip kickback.
Have you read, Pat? Have you read any Wild Seed or Parables of a Sower?
I actually have Parables on a Sower on my next up list right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
About to get some themes for your party up in there, right?
Word. I'm trying to refinish off Siddhartha again because I was going through some spiritual troubles. So I was like, let me go pick up some stuff. So I'm rereading Siddhartha, and so I'm trying to finish that. And then Parables of the Sower is next up.
Okay, I'll let you get a pass on that. You can listen to the podcast with Adrian Renee Brown and Koshi Regan. They're turning it into an opera as well. So
wow. Shit.
Just saying.
I'm gonna have to send my application up in there. I want to be in the opera. That'd be great.
Yo, my friend is in that opera.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Wow. Fantastic. That sounds really exciting. And the opera. Interesting. The opera singing, Pat.
Yo, I've lived so many lives. Okay.
I did not know that. I thought joking. Wow, fantastic. All right.
It's just that I believe in myself. I've never actually done it. I just believe that I can.
I've lived it up here. Up here, there's been so many lives.
I had that same dream when I was 8, and all my neighbors used to hate me because I would wake up every morning like, I'm an opera singer.
Why not, right? Somebody started somewhere doing that same shit. Okay. I was in Oliver Twist, and that just got me going. So
and in the show, there was someone who said that they know someone who's in the production.
Are you talking to me?
Krista, yep.
Oh yeah. What's the question?
Who's your friend that's in the show?
Her name is Marie Tati, and she's in. I'll drop you a link.
Marie Tati.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I would love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Making connections. All right. Appreciate you guys. I think we can end this portion of the call. And for those who want to stay on for 5 minutes or so, especially project team members who might want to just touch base about tomorrow's event, we can do that. There's also a 12 o'clock check-in. So with that, just want to say thank you to everyone who showed up. We're going to leverage this recording and get the message out, right? Let people know it's not too late, and hopefully continue to engage our broad audience. All right.
By the time they see this, it might be too late.
I think so. It might be the case, but I'm going to send a link, an email with those links you guys shared, and they'll get a link of this, and they'll know for next time.
It depends on how cloud working today, because sometimes cloud don't be really hitting, and if you're taking 12 hours to get a recording from something that happened earlier in the day, you know what I mean? So we're gonna see what it's hitting for today.
Gotcha.
It's true.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Peace out.
Bye.
I'll stay on, John.
Bye. Thank you. Have a good one.
Appreciate you. Awesome. All right. right. So the check-in session is still happening, obviously, at 12. The point of tomorrow is really to highlight three things. One, we're leveraging the fellowship as a visible vehicle of investment that CFNE is engaging. And then we're gonna invite folks who are just organizations in the ecosystem to share a little bit about themselves. So not necessarily fellowship oriented. And then finally talk about how investors are able to invest in CFNE. So the audience for this call are investors, co-op interested or socially conscious investors across the country, right? It's not like a large audience. It's really just to engage our investor audience and maybe some other partners who can then support the organizations on the call. So those are the three large goals. The part that we're going to be engaging would be the first part, the fellowship sites, the fellow host sites, sorry. And it'll just be, I haven't fully done the floor because Carolyn was interacting with folks. Did you guys get emails requesting your engagement in that?
I got a calendar invite.
I invited you knowing that we needed some kind of core members, original members to be involved. I wasn't sure who was all going to be involved. So I just wanted to make sure, ask Carmen, yourself, and so on to be a part of that. I think Carmen's going to share a little bit about Mission Accomplished as a partner. So that second part, and whoever we can get on will be on for the first part. And so we'll have maybe 2 or 3 host sites, even though we may have multiple members per site. And it'll be talking about the reasons for your participation in the fellow, right? Why is this important? And maybe I can pull up a document that could be helpful. One of the documents we created to create some alignment among us is this playbook. And I think the playbook, as a part of our project planning, does have a lot of good insight into what we're trying to do here. Let me just pull that up and see if it could be helpful. So ultimately, we're thinking about, why do we exist? Why are we part of the fellowship? What do we hope to accomplish? What is unique about our work? Those type of things. I doubt we'll have more than 5 to 7 minutes total time talking. And it really depends on how this prep call goes, because I hadn't previously tried to design the session, right? It previously was just me sitting back. So if we remember this is some good insight into where we landed on our shared answers before diving into the fellowship. So who are we, right? Capital region-based learning community for the co-op curious, right? Why do we exist? Show the world that Black people do co-ops, that emerging communities do co-ops, right? That we can engage co-ops in emerging contexts and center equity. How do we behave, right? Equity, solidarity, democracy, right? Equity, centering the needs and ownership of Black people and other racialized groups. Solidarity, we're doing business together. So how do we facilitate actual trade and use of each other's resources? And democracy, we share power, right? How do we share power? So what do we do? Providing learning equity, networking, and wealth building opportunities for emerging cooperators. How we succeed. Energy, ecosystem, enterprise. And interesting enough, that session is called Investing Energy. And so I didn't, choose that title, but I think that's probably the most aligned aspect of what we do and what this session is going to be trying to bring out, right? I think this idea of we're trying to identify with the energy. We know visibly, we can assume that a lot of Black people don't do co-ops, but we know we are, right? We're following that energy, that collective spirit, whatever the case is. And so how are we telling a different narrative? How does this organization exist to tell a different story? And so what's most important right now? Maybe it stops there. Who does what is more tactical? So I feel like these questions and answers have a lot of important information that could be referenced anytime. But what do you guys, what are you hoping to get from the session, if anything? Any questions you might have? and important points we could make.
Important points to make. I don't know. I guess specifically for that group and like that audience, I guess. I think just driving home the point of like Capital Region is going through a really important transition, and there's a lot of big energy and projects that are happening. And like right now is the perfect time to like support somewhere like CFNE, because CFNE supports like the growth and development of, you know, co-ops and organizations that are co-op centric, you know, in this space at this time. I think just driving that point home is going to be like the highest value. You know, we could talk about like, you know, what's going on. I think, you know, we can talk about film stuff. We can talk about, you know, tech and, you know, logistics and manufacturing and all that kind of stuff. We can kind of like briefly speak about like what's happening, but just like trying to give someone that doesn't know anything about the Capital Region some kind of context as to like, this is like the next like big emerging market. Pushing that home, I think, is going to be really valuable, especially in the midst of like, it's still in transition. It's not like complete yet. So we still have a opportunity, a big opportunity to like really lay some co-op roots into like the redevelopment or revitalization of a region.
Gotcha. Excellent. So that makes me think of for the investing in fellowship session. I remember that squiggle strategy visionaring session that I had done at the retreat.
Mm-hmm.
We leveraged those 4 quadrants to talk about, you know, the context of their work and their journey and their ultimate goals. And so the way we started was what's happening in the world today. And so I think what you just pointed out is what's happening in the Capital Region today, you know what I mean? And talking about that from an aspirational or even just emerging perspective is great. And then the next world, right? Like how is CFNE providing that high value that you're talking about, bringing us into what's possible for us, right? And the reality is maybe my role, some of the resources provided to support our own informal gathering and self-development. Mm-hmm. So that's probably that. And
yeah,
then
I can double down with like, you know, because of CFNE, like, you know, I have access to like loan money to go build a production facility in, you know, this environment. So, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. The last 2 pieces on that, just for reference, that could be helpful. I'm not sure if we'll have the full time. Let me just pull it up real quick. Would be ultimately, well, hold on. Let me just put talk. Staying in fellowship. There we go. Fellowship discussion guide. All right, so just briefly, just because I realize it could be helpful for us. So the world today, right, talking about the Capital Region, emerging world, needing capital to grow some of these co-op interested initiatives. The next world, the value of the fellowship, right? How is a fellowship facilitating that next world? And then ultimately the future, right? Changing the face of the cooperative movement. So maybe these last 2 questions, do they make sense? How do you see it right now? That how the fellowship is helping us get to the next world. Who put this in? Oh, I see.
Yeah, I think this looks pretty solid.
This is from the past. This is just contextualizing I think this is the theme, right, of the fellowship, right? World today, emerging world, the next world, the future. just wanted to give you the chance to think, practice, ideate around how you think the fellowship is bringing the next world, and similarly for the future.
Oh, you want me to like give you some feedback?
You don't need to. I'm
Oh.
just saying, like, you know what I mean? Obviously, we're just reviewing. If you have any thoughts, you can vomit them up. Otherwise, consider them, and however they land, they land. There's no wrong answers, obviously. This is not about us in that way. I think for the future, so the next world is how the fellowship is facilitating that. But for the future, and maybe I should just make a copy and share all that. But for the future, when I'm thinking about this, it's kind of our when we did it with the fellowship, we use this to talk about the project. So what does your project mean for this aspiration of changing the face of the cooperative movement, right? So that might be looking at what the practical things we're doing, whether it's the co-op connection or the project of the fellow. How is that bringing that future into being? And how can people support? So kind of our call to action, if we have any. So this is, as by creating a visible learning community, we believe it's going to normalize Black people doing co-ops, immigrants, or whatever in our region doing co-ops. And do we have a call to action that you can think of? And obviously, we all have to perhaps be in alignment with this one. But let me know your thoughts, and whoever's going to be on the panel as well. We can combine an answer. What do you think would be our call to action right now?
Give us more money.
For the project team?
Not like, no, just in general, to the investors, our call to action would be like, just give us more money.
Just give us some money. Yeah, no, I can't believe you, man. I do think we could use more money, because right now the money is just for project team members, and we all have aspirations, and we can leverage more funds based on the fact that we're investing our time in building this thing. To achieve our own goals, right? Christina's using her funds to pay for a mentorship program she's a part of, for example, right? And so as individual business owners and co-op interested business owners and cooperators, we're all giving our time to create this community, right? And if we had more resources, that can be even further along. And yeah, I think it is for our quote unquote professional development. More resources to invest in ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, at the root of it all is just like about how do you build stability, like long-term stability, right? And so in order to do that, it's just like developing strong organizations and strong leadership. And so whatever, whether it be financial, whether it be mentorship, whether it be, physical like things, that people need, all of that stuff, I think is probably like the real thing that we're all pushing after, right? Because that's the stuff that creates this like long-term sustainability. So, that's kind of how I see it. It's like in terms of just like not foundational needs. I don't know. I think it's just like we just need more eyes and bodies, to get around, what's happening here, and what's going on in month-to-month meetings and yada yada. So like, I don't know, people and resources. I mean, that's kind of everything. People and resources.
Yeah, I agree. And and in that, just hearing the need to invest in ourselves. All right, excellent. Thank you. Let me see. Kind of region. And really, this is going to be for everybody. Maybe I'll think about this for everybody. But getting there. All right. I think that's probably enough. If you guys are, well, not everybody, but who we're going to make the call can hop on the 12 o'clock. Otherwise, we're probably okay.
And just to refresh my brain, so that 12 o'clock is going to be just larger group planning and prep.
Larger group planning and prep. Yep. Yep.
Got it.
Other folks.
All right. I think there's a possibility that I'll have to hop off a little bit early because I have to plan a shoot with Honest Weight clients. So because we're actually expanding our contract with them coming up soon. So whoop, whoop.
Nice. You're doing some ads for them or some content?
Yeah, so we've been doing like community storytelling like things with them, like videos. And so like Jamel will go out and shoot, a story about one of their vendors or something like it. And that stuff's been going really well. Like, our first video had like 150,000 views on YouTube. And so, yeah, like they love that stuff. And they just transitioned and got Trash Kid to be their director of marketing. So, yeah, they're doing like some internal marketing changes, and they're working with some folks now that they don't really want to work with anymore. And they loved our videos. So they were like, hey, can you guys do more stuff? Also, we need some consulting help. So, yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that's pretty good, actually. I'm excited for that. Yeah, all the energy.
Bro, it's like between stuff we was doing with y'all and stuff we're doing with them is like super mission aligned work. So yeah, it feels good.
Yeah, it's just pumping the mission higher. All right, cool. So this is it. Any final thoughts, questions? All right, that's no problem. I think this is it, right? The first prompt, thinking about who is serving Capital Region, what's that context? Think about the emerging world, all of us coming together. Think about the fellowship and how it's going to help us transition the next world and ultimately the distant future. And the fact that we need investment in us, our project is us, to really get there, right? Attending conferences, mentorship, and so on. All right, cool. I'm going to stop sharing, and once I finalize something, I'll share it with everybody. All right. I think
Cool. See y'all later / in 15 minutes.
Cool. Peace.